It's strange how a single wall, just concrete, barbed wire, and watchtowers could hold millions of people hostage. Stranger still is how that same wall, after standing unshaken for 28 years, suddenly crumbled in one night. Not because of a war, or a treaty, or a grand political announcement, but because of a mistake. A misunderstanding, a press conference gone wrong. For decades, the Berlin Wall symbolized fear, division, and broken dreams. Then suddenly, almost out of nowhere, it fell. How does something like that happen? Why did an entire superpower lose control overnight? And what did this moment really mean for the world? In this video, we're going to answer all of these questions, so let's begin. To understand the fall, we first need to understand the world that built the wall. After World War II, Germany was divided into 4 occupation zones: American, British, French, and Soviet. Berlin, although deep inside Soviet territory, was also split. And as tensions grew between the capitalist West and the communist East, Berlin became the front line of the Cold War. By the late 1950s, East Germany was collapsing from within. People were fleeing by the millions: teachers, engineers, doctors, skilled workers crossing into West Berlin where life was freer and more prosperous. For the Soviet-backed East German government, this wasn't just embarrassing, it was a disaster. They couldn't build socialism if everyone kept running away. So in 1961, the East German leadership made a decision that shocked the world. They sealed the border overnight. Barbed wire was laid down in the darkness. Streets were cut open. Rail lines were severed. Families woke up to find themselves separated. Some were at work on one side of the city while their children were trapped on the other. The Berlin Wall became a real-life scar, and for nearly 3 decades, it reminded everyone that the world was divided not just politically, but emotionally and physically. People tried to flee anyway. Some succeeded by digging tunnels or flying hot air balloons. Others died at the border, shot by East German guards who were ordered to kill anyone attempting to escape. Every death became a silent message. The Cold War wasn't just a political rivalry, it was a human tragedy. But while the wall stood firm, the system behind it was slowly breaking. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union was drowning under economic stagnation, military overspending, and growing public frustration. When Mikhail Gorbachev rose to power, he introduced reforms: glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring. His goal was to save the Soviet system, not destroy it, but once the people got a taste of freedom, everything began to change faster than anyone expected. Eastern Europe started to crack. In Poland, the Solidarity movement gained momentum. In Hungary, the border with Austria was opened. East Germans began slipping out through Hungary and Czechoslovakia, and crowds inside East Germany were growing louder, demanding reform, demanding freedom, demanding the right to travel. The East German leadership panicked. They tried to shut down the protests. They tried to hold on to the old system. But this time, it wasn't working. Even the Soviet Union refused to send tanks to help them. The world sensed something big was coming, but no one could have predicted what happened next. On November 9, 1989, an East German official named Günter Schabowski was handed a note with new travel regulations. The note said East Germans might be allowed to cross the border in the near future, under certain procedures. But Schabowski hadn't been briefed properly. During a live press conference, when asked when the new rules would take effect, he glanced at the paper, hesitated, and said the words that changed history. "As far as I know," immediately. Without delay. Within minutes, the news spread across East Berlin. People rushed to border crossings. Guards were confused, they hadn't received any orders. Thousands of East Berliners kept pushing forward, chanting, shouting, demanding passage. And then, something unbelievable happened. The guards opened the gates. Not because they wanted to, but because they had no choice. They were outnumbered, overwhelmed, and terrified of causing a massacre. And just like that, the Berlin Wall fell. The scene that followed was unlike anything in modern history. East and West Berliners poured into the streets, hugging strangers, crying, dancing, climbing the wall, smashing it with hammers. Families that had been separated for decades reunited. The world watched live on television as the symbol of the Cold War collapsed not with violence, but with joy. It was the day the world changed, because once the wall fell, the dominoes fell too. Within months, communist governments across Eastern Europe collapsed one after another. The Soviet Union, weakened and directionless, Dissolved entirely in 1991, Germany reunified, becoming the powerful nation it is today. NATO and the European Union expanded eastward. Global powers shifted in a way no one had expected. The Cold War, which had defined the world since the 1940s, suddenly ended not with a nuclear standoff, but with crowds of citizens demanding freedom. But the fall of the Berlin Wall wasn't just a victory of democracy over dictatorship. It exposed something deeper, that no system can survive forever by suppressing its people. That walls, no matter how tall or how guarded, cannot outlast the human desire to be free. And yet the legacy of the wall still shapes global politics today. The reunification of Germany created new tensions in Europe. Russia's loss of influence planted seeds of future conflicts. The idea of Western victory in the Cold War still affects diplomacy, military strategy, and global alliances. More importantly, the memory of the Berlin Wall forces us to ask a difficult question. If a single mistake at a press conference could topple such a powerful structure, how stable are the systems we live under today? The world can change overnight, not because leaders decide it, but because ordinary people reach a breaking point. In the end, the fall of the Berlin Wall wasn't just the collapse of concrete. It was the collapse of fear. It was proof that even the strongest empires underestimate the power of the people they rule. It was a reminder that history is not made only by presidents, generals, and politicians, but by crowds, by voices, by courage. And that is why November 9th, 1989 remains one of the most important days in human history. It didn't just reunite a city, it reshaped the world.